In today's video, we are going to talk about new Bloxburg. We are going to talk about my opinions on things like the UI, the map, the school, players' opinions. We are going to talk about nostalgia, social media. We're going to talk about 2024 Bloxburg's player count. We are basically going to cover everything that's been going on with the game this year and everyone's opinions, more specifically mine, and more specifically, I'm going to yap a lot. So I suggest you get comfy, you maybe, hop on pizza delivery and listen to this whilst you do, because we're going to have a huge chat about Bloxburg and how I feel about it. Hey glossettes, welcome back. How are you guys doing today? Now it's day 12 of Glossmas, and in today's video, as you can probably tell, we're doing something a little different. I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've done like a proper facecam video, so I'm nervous, so bear with me. I'm using my webcam on my MacBook, so this isn't as good quality. Here's my camera, but it'll do, okay? Basically, what I wanted to do today was have a sit-down chat about new Bloxburg, or kind of the development of Bloxburg within the past couple years, how I actually feel about it, all of my lovely opinions that I'm sure you're all very thrilled to be listening to today. As someone in the creator program, I get asked a lot what I think about things, and a lot of you act as if I'm being held hostage because I'm in the program. There's this huge thing about people thinking that the creators in the program can't say whatever they want. We can, which is what I'm going to be doing today. I just happen to be a little ray of sunshine most of the time who doesn't really have much to critique, but that's different today because I will also be focusing on things I do want to critique, just so people are aware of the things I don't like about the game's direction and the things I do like. Let me bring up my little notes. Basically, what I'm going to be covering today is things like my opinion on the new major changes this year, so the UI, the map, the school, the overall game direction. I'm also going to be talking about how I think 2024's kind of, incident affected how things this year were kind of reacted to, if that makes sense. I'm going to be talking about the player count. I'm going to talk about changes or major updates that I want to see going into 2026, and I'm also going to be answering some of your questions that you gave me on Twitter. So we're going to be getting into the gloss up today, okay? But before we do, of course, we need to go and see who is behind door number 12 on the Glossmas advent calendar. I'm not gonna leave that out just because it's a facecam video. Can you tell I'm really nervous? Okay, anyways. As per usual, there's a timestamp on screen now if you want to skip to where the video actually begins, but if we go to door number 12, the glossette we actually have today is Shadow, and this is because Shadow drew this drawing of my Christmas avatar, and I just thought this was so cool. The detail is incredible. I love the dress. They put a lot of detail into the dress and stuff, and I guess the physics, and everything just looks so cute. I love the eyelashes and the flowy hair and everything, and it's just so adorable. So thank you so much, Shadow, and welcome to the Glossmas advent calendar. Anyways, what we're going to be doing today is everything I just said. However, I know you guys don't have very much of an attention span sometimes, so we're going to be doing the Bloxburg equivalent of Subway Surfers playing on the screen, and I'm just gonna snowplow or do some mini games and stuff, but we're just gonna get into it. So starting with the changes this year. So part 1 of the UI, obviously that's not finished yet, and the map and the school, that was kind of the 3 major things that happened this year, and I feel like it's the one people talk about the most. So I'm gonna start by going over my opinions on all of that, and then we'll kind of talk about people's reactions and why I think people react to certain things the way they do, if you get what I mean. Also, look at Pasheen. I also have my Funko Pops. I got a new shelf. I haven't streamed in ages. Sorry, I'll get to the point in a second, but I got a new shelf. I have my play button, my little Funko Pops, my Pasheen, and then I got this candle that looked like lip gloss dripping down. I thought that was kind of fitting. Also, today's lip gloss, Kiko, a classic. Anyways, we're gonna get into it, okay? So let's start with the UI, because the UI and the new logo was something that came out I think a few weeks before the map and everything. I'm gonna tell you what I think about the new UI. Obviously you can see some of it on screen. We have obviously how the new job UI I guess goes at the top. We have the currency at the top. We have the new buttons. We have the mood thing down there. Let's start with what we can see on the screen right now. So this kind of new transparent kind of feel to it. I love this part of it. So I love the, I guess, cleanness of the new thing. Obviously the old UI was basically just white blocks, which was very minimalistic, and I think they've kept that minimalism really well. I think it's so much cleaner. I love the transparent look just because it kind of you can zone your eyes kind of out of it a bit more, so it doesn't feel as intrusive as the white kind of blocks. I feel like they kept it minimalistic like it was. I know the currency being moved was an adjustment. What I will say is obviously at the end of the day, the currency being moved to a different corner isn't a huge concern, and I see the vision in because I think the reason they did that was to fit in other things better. So you know how last year when we had the tickets for the first time ever, one of the major complaints was that it looked really ugly on the screen, and I agree. However, now it blends in like perfectly. Like it looks like it's meant to be there. Same with when you go into the school over there and you have like the school currency that pops up, it all fits in really nicely and it means everything can kind of stay in one area. I think it's neat, so I love that. I love the mood thing. The mood thing looks so clean. I love the little face. I just think it's really cute. One of the things, I love how the buttons down here are really clear and easy to see, and I love the animation, and I much prefer the job thing being at the top. So obviously we have the daily objectives bar, which some people don't like, kind of constantly being at the top of the screen, which I agreed with. However, I think if they gave us a like button to toggle off the daily objectives, that would be great, but it's a perfect bar to have like the other things. So when you're in the school, that top bar is where you get like your school things kind of put, like the whatever class it is. When you work, obviously now with the snowplow, you can see it's at the top of the screen. I'm talking so much with my hands today, guys. I can't even see my face cam right now, so I really hope I don't look stupid. Anyways, obviously everything fits there so nicely. So I guess like the harmony of everything that shows up on your screen works so much better with the new UI. Like they've made it so there's like room for growth. So when they add more updates, everything fits together far more nicely. So the UI and the UI design itself of like the everything kind of being white and see-through, I think is such an upgrade. However, of course, there are some things I don't like about the new UI, which is what we're going to be talking about now, which I did post about at the time, but there seems to be this effect of people completely ignoring me when I criticize things and only focusing on when I'm being like a bloxburg glazer. So the things I don't like about the new UI is, first of all, okay, in terms of the phone, it's not that I don't like that we have a phone. I think having the phone is such an easier way to display everything, especially being able to change your avatar and have everything so clearly, like, is perfect. Like, it displays everything in such an easy way for people to understand, especially new players, compared to the buttons we had before where everything was kind of hidden. I feel like it's definitely far better, and obviously having the event button down here is far better. However, the design of the phone, the colors and everything, I don't really like. Now, I like it better than when they first added it and they obviously asked for our feedback and we had it changed. Like, the background matches the logo obviously, which I think is great, but ideal world, I would have had it so all of the apps, I know this is boring, okay, I know that we're going for like an authentic kind of phone feel, like realistic, but I would have had all the apps be the same color, like the classic bloxburg blue, and I also would have had it so we could still color our own UI and we could change those buttons when we changed our UI, because I know a lot of people miss the colored UI. I am devastated it's gone. That's one of the things that I felt shouldn't have been changed, because I think it was quite an important part of people being able to customize something just a little bit. Even though it's not the end of the world, I really miss that. So I don't really like the colors of the phone, but then again, all I do is make everything pink and white, so I don't really think I can be trusted to talk about colors. But on that topic as well, I also don't really like the kind of color scheme. It's not as bad as I remember now looking at it. You see, like here for example, where we have like the different shades of blue and the shading, it feels like very kind of old style games, maybe like old Sims like menus. Do you get what I mean? Hang on, I need to reapply my lip gloss. Like, I just don't really like that as much. Let me try and, what am I thinking about? Like the skills and everything, I feel like the theme feels like it's something that's outdated. Like the shape of everything is perfect, like the shape of the, oh my god, I love the skills icons, all of this looks so good, but I feel like the top blue feels like a darker blue than I would have made it for like the bloxburg kind of color scheme. Hang on. Like, it's not awful, by the way. It's well made. It's really good. I just personally would have liked to see the phone reflect the minimalism of like the UI on screen now, you know, like the mood thing. Do I sound insane? Do you get what I mean? Like, obviously it's colorful. I love this background. The first one we had, I didn't like at all. This one is far better. But if I'm being nitpicky, the colors and everything, I just don't like the theme as much. I feel like it doesn't fit well with the UI you normally have on screen. I feel like it feels like two different styles. Like, looking at this and everything, it just feels like two different styles. But that's the only kind of note I would give on that. Obviously, we don't have part 2 of the UI out yet because they haven't added it yet. That's basically how I feel. I just feel like some of it doesn't fit as well as others, but overall I feel like it's a huge improvement for like the style on this screen. As well, on the update we got the new logo, which is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Absolutely no notes. The Halloween, the Christmas one, they are doing such a good job with the logos. I don't want to hate anything about it. I think they're beautiful. I love how they kept the same font. I love how they kept the kind of same bloxburg feel, but they just made it better. Like, what I tell a lot of people, and I'll go into this later, is bloxburg this year, a lot of it feels like what bloxburg was meant to be, like what Queb just had had in mind if he had the tools to make it this good in 2016. Do you get what I mean? But the new logo is beautiful. So that's kind of like my thoughts on the UI. Moving on to the map. Now, this is a big one because obviously this is kind of when everything changed. The map is the biggest update in bloxburg history, and there's not really anything else that they could ever add that would be bigger than this, because the map is the thing you see. Like, it's the whole, like it is the game. So this is like, it was such a huge change, and this is kind of going to be a big section to talk about, but I'm just going to start with how I feel about the map, because obviously after I talk about my opinions, we're going to talk about like why I think people react the way that I do and how other people kind of feel about it. But the map itself, I think, is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. I feel like you can't deny the fact it's beautiful. Like, just going around it, it feels so immersive. It feels like an actual small town. Thank goodness they didn't just plonk like a giant city on this. It's kept like the small town feel of bloxburg. Once again, it feels like if bloxburg was made in 2025 instead of 2016, it feels like what Corruptors had in mind. But obviously Roblox was such a different platform for making games back then. It's just perfect. Now, obviously there's issues with lag. That is a whole thing right now, and I'm not going to talk about that, like, because there's not really anything I can say. The game lags. It's being a nightmare for people. That's kind of it. But in terms of like the map design, they did incredible. It feels like a realistic town. It is so cute. Now, personally, because I am the biggest bloxburg fan in the world, I know everything on this map off by heart. So I know everywhere. I know every path. I know every tree practically. I know this like the back of my hand now because I just love it so much. I love all the different areas. However, there is some like complaints people have, which I've been thinking about. So a lot of people are saying right now they hate how hard it is to find plots. And as someone who, like I said, knows this map already, like to an insane degree, obviously I don't have that problem. I know the routes in a circle off by heart. It takes me a few seconds to get there. However, if you're someone who hasn't obviously been learning this map like crazy, you are not going to have that experience, which is what a lot of people are like. So first of all, a lot of people want a GPS. We don't have a GPS. I think something like that needs to be put in place, even if it's just them adding an app where they put the picture of the map that they posted on Twitter. Like, I just feel like something needs to be there. I talk to a lot of people who I give out that map to, and they think it's so much easier once they have it. So I think even if they just put like a picture in the game, that would be great, because right now we don't actually have a picture. So if you're like a player on a device that maybe doesn't load the entire thing, you're not really going to be able to see what you're on, if that makes sense. But overall, it's so easy once you learn the route. With people talking about the size and how they want it to be smaller, I do agree to some degree that, yeah, maybe it could have been smaller. Maybe they could have kept the exact same layout of this new map that we have, but left a little bit less terrain so it was all closer together. However, what the terrain does do is like it feels like a real place, so you can be so immersed in like random areas of the map, and it feels so real, and it's so good for roleplay, and you can't really see like the other side of the map. Like, you feel like you're in a location. So I think there's pros and cons of it being big or small. Like, obviously if it's bigger, it's going to be harder for people to learn, because unlike the old map, it's not just like a block. The old map, it was easy because there was nothing on it. This one feels like a real place, and obviously with any other game you would learn it over time, but it's daunting for people to learn at the same time, if you get what I mean. See, the thing with me doing facecam videos is I'm getting distracted and forgetting what I'm saying. But do you get what I mean? It's kind of like, yes, it's harder to find your way around a huge map, but also it looks better than if it was tiny. Honestly, the map thing kind of depends on the player in terms of getting around and stuff. Like I said, I know it off by heart, so I know where I'm going. So once you get to that stage, it's fine. But it's getting people to that stage where they know what it is, and I feel like a map would really help them visualize it a lot better, which is why even if it was a picture in the phone, it would be a great kind of thing. But in terms of the map design itself, honestly, it's beautiful. Yes, it could be smaller, but that doesn't make it bad, if that makes sense. Like, it feels like bloxburg. A lot of people are saying it doesn't feel like bloxburg, but I was going to talk about people's opinions later, but we'll get this bit out of the way with now, shall we? Obviously, there's a huge thing, especially on TikTok, with the nostalgia and people being upset with the new map and stuff, and I just want to add this bit in now. So on the topic of struggling with the change and being upset and not feeling like it's bloxburg, I am the queen of knowing what this feels like, okay? So a little bit about me is I'm autistic, and change is something that I really struggle with. So a little story time. Back in 2018, when bloxburg expanded the old map, and by expanded I mean they added the bit with the highway at the back, and they added the observatory, and they made the terrain not flat, and I had a breakdown. I was so upset. I was like, this doesn't feel like bloxburg. They've changed too much, even though they barely changed anything. Keep in mind, this is why I'm telling you this, because it's you know, just to demonstrate how ridiculous it was. I was so devastated. I didn't play for like a week because I was so upset that they would even change that little part of it, and that's because bloxburg has always meant the world to me. So even back then, any little change I really struggled with getting my head around because it was different. It wasn't bad different. I mean, the map was so much better even after that little expansion, but I was just so upset. So I do want to say I completely understand the struggle with changing from the old map to this one, because I struggled with this one too. One thing that I've been doing is I talk to a lot of players, and one of the main things they say is, oh, it feels different. I joined when the map kind of changed, and then I left immediately because it upset me and it felt overwhelming, and I never have played since. And as someone who felt the exact same, I also do want to add in at this point, obviously I'm in the creator program, so I did get to see the map before it went live. I didn't get to see the final product, we didn't get to see like this version of it, but we saw and we tested quite a lot of it, so I was fortunate enough to have that time to adjust a bit more. But even then, I still sometimes to this day will have days where I'm just like, obviously I love this map, the new map is incredible, so when I say this, don't take it as like, oh, she hates it. I adore this map and I would never want to go back, but I do have days where I'm so upset and I'm just like, just take me back, please. I can't do this anymore. But it's because of the fact I struggle with change so much, and that is completely valid. And going back to the players I talk to, I sit people down a lot and I kind of explain that, and I explain that different doesn't mean bad, and that it was always going to take you time to adjust to. And I talk them through like the map layout and we discuss it, and after that I've had so many players who get back into the game and just really enjoy it and try and remind themselves, you know, it's always going to take time to kind of love it because it's brand new. It's the exact same as how long it took you to love the old map as much because you were a new player at one point. Like, it's the exact same kind of thing. I understand how overwhelming it is for people, and I think that's something that needs to be kept in mind. And I think even the people themselves who are struggling with it need to keep in mind that that feeling you have of like freaking out over it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's different and something that you might really struggle with. And that's kind of why people are reacting the way they do, because this is the biggest change the game's ever had, and people are always going to pretty much lose it at things like this, just like how I did in 2018, just like how I did this year. But this map is incredible. They put so much work into it. I'm going to talk about the devs a little bit later, but they put so much love into it, and it does feel like bloxburg. They haven't changed the style of it. They haven't made it a giant city. They've kept it as the small town it was always meant to be. They've, you know, all the kind of assets and stuff are pretty much the same. If you kind of look past surface level, the style of the game is the style of bloxburg. Obviously, it's never going to be completely like the old map was, because the old map was basically a field, and it's not 2016 anymore. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, so map wise, it is incredible. Obviously some people are having issues with it, but I can't say a bad word about the design of the map because I genuinely think they've done such a good job. Now I'm gonna try and not yap. Also, the way they did it with the meteor event, genius. They had that kind of week transition period where they changed a few things and they had the meteor in the sky. That is the best way, in my opinion, that they could have done it. We had a week's warning. They turned it into such a fun little event, and it was just done so well. The map itself was executed just incredibly. But moving on to the school, I'm going to try and hurry myself up a little bit because I know I'll just keep talking and talking and talking. The school update was obviously something that was so requested for years and years and years. Now, like I said, I'm going to talk about the developers themselves and kind of like, I guess, the timeline of things a little bit after this, but the school update was also something that I think was done so incredibly well. I think the style of the building was perfect. I think the way they have mini games for the classes, but also they have empty classes for role players, perfect balance between the different communities we have. I would have liked a school bus. I will agree with the people, it would have been cool, but however, we have had so many big updates this year that they can only do so much. The design of the building, everything perfect. I love it. I love the school update itself. There's definitely room to expand on, which is why I think the school's kind of done the way it is, because they've basically done it in a way where they can definitely expand on the content in it for future updates. In terms of the way it was launched in the update itself, a lot of people were disappointed with the player count. So the school update got like over 100,000 people playing at once, and annoyingly, that was also back. I know 99 Nights is still a huge game, don't get me wrong, but that was back at like the peak of 99 Nights, if you could call it that, and they updated at the exact same time. So I'm going to talk about player counts and stuff in a little bit, but in terms of the school update itself, I 100% believe the 99 Nights update that happened on the exact same time impacted it as well, because pretty much the whole platform wanted to go on that instead. Some people were upset with like the teasers and the way it was kind of hyped, as in it not being hyped enough and then not being happy with the launch of it. I'm going to talk about the social medias and stuff a little bit later and how I feel about that, but I think they did a great job. The trailers and stuff were really cool. I love the new style of like trailers we're getting, but the school update itself was another thing they did so well. The map in the school, genuinely two of the most perfect updates in my eyes. There's not really anything I feel like I can critique in the updates themselves, if that makes sense. It's more stuff around the update. Like, unlike the UI where there's actual things I've kind of like, I don't like, the map in the school, I don't really have that. I'm losing track of what I wanted to say again, but that's basically my opinions on the three major changes this year. You're gonna have to bear with me because my brain's just like buffering. Before I get into the rest of the stuff I want to talk about, I do just want to quickly briefly go back to the whole nostalgia thing. So a lot of people talk about nostalgia all the time. They talk about how Bloxburg doesn't feel the same, especially as 2020, and I just want to bring up that nothing feels the same. And as someone who is now 21, I kind of feel old. I feel like I've had so many phases and so many obsessions with things, and no matter what that thing is, no matter what, you know, changes happen to it, like if it's a game, no matter what updates they do or they don't do, no matter what happens around anything you love in life, it's never ever ever gonna feel the same way it did at that specific period in time. And I get this as well. It's like, I even feel nostalgic to last year in Bloxburg. Like, you're going to feel nostalgic over everything, no matter how good or bad it is, because that's what nostalgia is. Like, if it was in the past, it's in the past, and a lot of the time your brain also kind of phases out the negatives of things and just focuses on the positives and the fact that it was something like that happened in your life. So Bloxburg, no matter what they did, what they added to it, was never ever going to feel like it did in 2020 or 2019 or 2018 at this stage, because it's been years. It's been like 5 years since 2020. 2020 was also COVID, so nothing will ever feel the same as it did in COVID. I see TikToks all the time of people nostalgic over Adopt Me and talking about Adopt Me in the same way they talk about Bloxburg. I see people being nostalgic for a bunch of things, and nostalgia can be incredibly toxic. I'm not gonna write about this, but we're in the day and age now where everything's on TikTok and every feeling is like so pinpointed in videos, in clips, to make you feel such certain things, and it's just, you know, obviously pushed onto your For You page and you get tons of it. Like, it's not healthy to be reminiscing to that degree and focusing on it in such an unhealthy way, if that makes sense. Like, I see TikToks about my childhood and stuff all the time, and it's like, yes, if you think about any era of your life, it will probably upset you. You'll probably have that horrible nostalgia feeling, and it will just make you unhappy because it was in the past. Like, there's no going back to it. It's not something you can revisit. It's gone, and so is Bloxburg in that era. So I think the nostalgia thing and them talking about how it was better back then and it felt different, as someone who has been making Bloxburg videos since 2019 and has also been playing this game since 2016, I can assure you the community wasn't happy back then either. Bloxburg has always had a community who have been so intense. People weren't happy with the updates back then. People were never happy with the updates. People will never be happy with the updates because no game can ever update and give everyone what they want. But people were still just as intense. I remember the Christmas update in like 2020 or 2021. It wasn't even late. Like, they used to update on like the 9th or the 10th. People were going crazy. People were giving Coeptus death threats because the game still hadn't updated and it was like the 7th of December. This isn't a new phase of the community and their response. It's just you guys don't really pay attention to that. You don't remember the bad parts in your nostalgia. You remember the good ones. You remember playing with your friends and stuff like that. And not gonna lie, when I go into public servers, I still do feel like it's back then. Like, it doesn't feel that different to me. I still play Bloxburg with my friends, blah, 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 blah. Basically, the nostalgia thing, people need to stop focusing on nostalgia, not just even in Bloxburg, just in life in general, because all it does is make you miserable. Moving on to the rest of the topics I want to talk about, we're going to be talking about quite a big topic next, which is how I think 2024's incidents affected this year and affected the game going forward pretty much permanently. Now, I am actually going to be making like a kind of like documentary style video on 2024's incidents in, I think, January. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I've been working on it for a while, so I'm not going to go too overboard talking about it in this video because I feel like I'm doing enough yapping. But yeah, basically there was a little update in April which added fainting. If your moods went to the bottom like level, you had to pay when your car got towed, you had to pay when you fainted. They decreased the earnings a little bit and they made all the jobs equal and a bunch of stuff. And I will say there's so much misinformation on that update, especially with it being reverted. Like, everything they did back then, they did revert in September of that year, and I did a video on it recently that got like 650,000 views, being like, guys, none of this stuff's been in the game for over a year and people still don't know. Like, most of the comments of people Halloween clueless. So that whole thing is just such a large situation. But obviously that was when people were like rioting and protesting and all of that stuff, and it had a terrible impact on the game. Now personally for me, my experience with that update was that was also the same update where they added the pre-built catalog, and obviously being in the program, one of the houses that was added with that was mine. Funny story, that was the first time I've ever had to delete a tweet because I tweeted a picture of my house that I put in the catalog that I made for the game. Obviously, once again, I'm not going to go into this too much because I have before, but it got so much hate that I had to take down the tweet because people were ruthless. Obviously we were getting hate as well, being the creators in the program, and because we were obviously involved in that update specifically, people were evil. People were so evil. I remember I would like, I'm a really nosy person. I feel like we all know that by now. I would like type my name up in Discord servers. I still do that sometimes to like see what people said, but in that time I kind of did it because I was like, okay, what are people saying about me with all this going on? People were so cruel. Okay, so that was kind of my experience with it. I had the stress of people giving me hate for things. I also had the stress of it being a situation about a game I love so much anyways. It just left a mark on Bloxburg. People were so unhappy with it. People quit the game. So many people quit, which is why they don't know it was reverted. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna switch to playing the mini games. It had such a huge and wide impact because of how mainstream that whole situation went, because obviously people jump on anything. Like that whole thing 100% affected how people are seeing this year's updates. I think all of this would have been so much more kind of well received if everything that happened last year didn't happen, especially because people, since so much happened last year, pretty much go into most updates now being like, okay, well, what's wrong with it? As in, they're focusing on the bad parts of it and trying to find something to complain about and trying to find the faults in the developers and things they've done wrong because of last year. So overall, I think the stuff we got this year would have been, people would have been far happier about it if we didn't have the whole incident from last year. 2 minutes for minigame. Okay, I'm going back to snow plowing, I guess. Now, I do also just want to note that at the time, and I will put my sources on screen, so in 2022, late 2022, when the game was bought in 2023, obviously Froggy Hops was in charge. Now Froggy Hops, if you don't know who he is the studio manager of Bloxburg currently. He's also worked on the game alongside Coeptus since like 2017. The majority of what you know and love was made by Froggy Hops or with his contribution to the game. So he was pretty much the studio manager in 2023 as well, and 2023 was the first year with the new devs, and it was so well received. Everyone loved it. We got so many bangers for updates, like the Bloxie Burgers Explosion update, the Observatory. There was so much that happened. It was so good. 2024 rolls around and we actually had a different studio manager. So it wasn't Froggy anymore. It was someone else who was, I guess, like the head of Bloxburg. I don't know all the technical terms, so that's where I'm gonna leave it. So everything bad that happened was not Froggy. It wasn't Coeptus, obviously. It wasn't any of the current devs we have. It was someone else. And obviously those months went by and they were like doubling down on it and nothing was changing until we got to September. And September is actually when, if you read all the posts and stuff, this is when Froggy Hops was studio manager again. So he is now studio manager again. He reverts everything. He is obviously the studio manager we still have. So I do just want to say all of the devs we have currently and the studio manager, Live Laugh Love Froggy, was not the person who was studio manager at the time all the bad updates were added. None of the current devs were in charge of any of that. So I just want you to keep that in mind, because a lot of people keep being like, oh, well, it's the same devs. Technically, yes, but technically, no. What was I gonna say? Oh my god, I need to stop yapping. Anyways, overall, I think if last year didn't happen, we would be in a far better place, and these updates people would have been far happier about. One of the things people mention, what on earth am I doing? One of the things people talk about quite a lot is how everything has taken so long to do. We were meant to get the map revamp last year and stuff like that, but obviously it's very clear so much happened last year and so much was probably going on behind the scenes for them, which is so understandable of why everything's taken so long this year. And obviously we're going into getting more frequent updates now, and that was a huge thing. People were like, okay, they barely update. Now, first of all, that's not the case, because they pretty much updated at the same frequency they did when Coeptus was in charge, but we're getting more now because they finally got the two biggest updates ever out of the way, the school and the map, if that makes sense. Like, there was two such huge projects, so it's understandable with everything that happened last year and this year that they took longer than usual. Once again, if last year didn't happen, I do think people would be much happier with what happened here. We would have more more players because there wouldn't have been that incident to scare them away. And so many people are still completely oblivious with the fact that all the bad stuff isn't in the game anymore. And that's something that you can't really fully recover from, because how do you tell everyone? Like, oh yeah, wait, I was going to talk about the devs. So on the topic of the devs, I just want to say they're all really talented. I love all the devs. They do so well. Obviously, I am lucky enough to be able to talk to a lot of them a lot, and they're all so just like, they really care about the game. I see so many people saying they don't. They so do. Obviously, our community manager is Bramp, who's also been in the community for years. We also have the lovely Marie, who's amazing. Like, all the devs are so sweet and do care about this game so much. And it was horrible what they had to go through as well for things last year that they probably didn't decide to do, if you get what I mean. So it really upsets me when they get hate, okay? Because they're so sweet. But we're gonna move on to talking about the player count, because I fear I yap too much, and if I don't, you know, keep moving on, I will just keep going and going and going. The player count's decreased. We all know it's decreased. However, I'm not gonna sit here and clickbait you and put big red arrows in the thumbnail and be like, oh my god guys, the game is dead. Is the game ever gonna return? The player count's always gonna be a concern for people, but what's weird is I never ever thought about the player count until people started talking about it. I played the game for years and I genuinely don't think I even checked the player count before like 2024. It was never something I thought about when I was going to play a game, and I am on bloxburg Twitter, bloxburg TikTok, Discord, Reddit, whatever. I'm probably on it. If there's a bloxburg section on it, I'm on that social media. And what I will say is a lot of you guys aren't on bloxburg Twitter, and the stark difference between the rest of the community and Twitter is insane. Twitter was so intense. Twitter is one of the worst places in general on social medias because of how focused it is on negativity and exposing and opinions and blah 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 blah, blah and situations. So in general, Twitter's always going to be the worst place to be compared to like TikTok and stuff. TikTok's still bad. Don't get me started on some of the TikTok clickbaiters, okay? But in terms of Twitter, it is the worst place to be when talking about stuff like this. I don't know what I was going to say. I can't remember. And they are so heavily focused on the player count, and they always have been. Maybe they have been like way before all of this. I don't know. But it's something they're talking about all the time. So I feel like just because of everything, it's become such a focal point of everything. So I do want to talk about it. But first of all, player count is definitely not as low as people make it out to be. I mean, I know Rolling Ones isn't like fully accurate, but you can go on there and look that bloxburg gets like millions of new visits a day, millions of players a month. Like, the game is not dead. The game isn't this sudden tiny community. The player count sits around 10 to 20k on most days, and when I say 10 is normally in the morning when people are obviously asleep or at school. We're still hitting, like, you know, we had 50k for like 4 days in a row in the start of December. The school got 100k, obviously. The map got like so many players. We got like 900k or something, but then also before and after the map, consistently for like a month, we pretty much held like 50 to 100k, and then it just took this sudden dip out of nowhere. There wasn't even like an update or something that affected it, but we were doing so well with the map thing, and it's definitely decreased. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, we're fine guys, we still have millions of players. Well, we do have millions of players, but I mean it once. But I don't think it's a concern, especially as if you do what I do and you literally sit there and analyze the player count day to day now, which stresses me out, by the way. I hate this whole thing about the player count. It makes me so miserable that people are so focused on the number instead of playing the game you like. Like, does it really matter? Does it matter to this extent? Like I said earlier, I can't even remember looking at the player count before all of this started. If we really want to get in depth with it, the player count has been going up since like October. Slowly, yes, not like huge numbers. Like, regardless, we get a lot of players in a month, and we get so many posts on social media about the game. bloxburg is still everywhere, and it's still one of the biggest games on the platform, even though it's not like 99 nights. But that's another thing that really annoys me is, say bloxburg had 50k players, which it's been doing recently quite like a lot, but then you have 99 nights, which has like what, 2 million? Like, we had Grower Garden getting like 20 million, and I think it's making people think that if games don't have that, they're dead. It's so annoying because these mainstream games are such an anomaly with these high player counts. You don't even see, you know, Adopt Me getting that, and that's still a huge game. And it's like, for example, bloxburg has 50k, 99 nights has, let's say, 2 million. Because that one now has 2 million and that's a thing that exists, it's like, okay, bloxburg is dead just because it's smaller. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I feel like there's too much of a stark contrast, and in terms of content creators, there's always going to be that type of content creator who isn't really doing the videos they're doing out of passion. And by the way, I just want to make this very clear. This is not me talking about anyone particular. I'm just talking content creators in general. They've been like this for the dawn of time. You'll always have the ones that are filming videos on certain things they're passionate about, and then the ones who film certain things because it does well. So no matter what bloxburg does, if there's a game that's better, there's always going to be creators who go to that game, because I mean, it is a business. Like, this is our job, so I'm not gonna hate on them or anything, because, you know, if you want to get more income, you're gonna go to a bigger game. So there's obviously creators who are gonna do that, and that's their choice. If they want to switch to a bigger game to make content on, that's absolutely their choice. However, I do feel like it does affect the players when they see these creators that they've watched for years suddenly abandoning the game, and I feel like to a lot of people it kind of comes off as like, oh, well, if they're leaving, it must, you know, it must truly be dead. They must hate the game too, when a lot of the time that is not the case at all. Creators always to some degree have to try and make sure that, you know, they're still hitting the numbers, and that doesn't mean bloxburg numbers are bad. It means they could do better, if you get what I mean. Now, as a creator myself, I will say, obviously, because the player counts went down, views have went down a bit. Not huge, not to where I think it's a problem at all. Like, once again, this whole, oh, bloxburg is dead kind of thing. Oh my gosh, it's true, Reese's. I feel like it's ridiculous. So much of it is scaremongering. So much of the videos you see people talking about it are set up that way to be dramatic, to get more views. Like, there's a reason they're talking about it in the way they're talking about it. There's a reason the thumbnails and the titles are written in the way they are. It's because at the end of the day, it's capitalizing off the whole thing and how players feel about it and the worries players have, which is what I didn't want this video to be. I'm not gonna be like, guys, oh my god, you need to be so worried. Oh no, bloxburg's dying. I need to stop going off on tangents. Basically, player count wise, it is going up a little bit. It seems to be getting far better, especially with the recent seasonal updates. We are not dead. I don't think we're near that stage at all. I think going into 2026, because we don't have the devs working on, say, the school and like the map and big projects, that means we'll be getting more updates. I believe it'll go back up. I mean, look at Adopt Me. Adopt Me at one point this year had a lower player count than bloxburg. We were getting a higher player count than Adopt Me was, and Adopt Me has now shot back up again. You can always come back up. We've seen the resurgence of Bee Simulator or whatever it is recently. It's never the end. That's what I will say. It's never the end, especially for a game like bloxburg, where it's such a big part of Roblox, I guess, especially in my eyes. Like, everyone knows what bloxburg is. Everyone played bloxburg. People still come back to bloxburg. We're getting tons of new players. Now, I just want to add this in. This elf hunt, it's only been like 3 days into the elf hunt. The amount of new players, I've never ever seen this many new players participate in an elf hunt before, because obviously I've done videos on every single elf hunt they've ever done over the past 5 years. I am the self-proclaimed elf hunt queen. There's nothing I love in life more than the elf hunt, so I would say I'm somewhat of an expert on this subject. I've never ever had the questions that I've been getting this year. I've never had this many new people to it, like, and that just solidified to me the fact that there's still such a new audience coming to the game, which is crazy. As well as this, I've noticed the past couple months on social media, I see so many people commenting being like, oh, what game is this, on like bloxburg posts, which I've never seen to that extent before. Like, we're getting such a new audience. Obviously the old audience was always going to grow up to some degree, but I think people's concern is that we're not getting a new one to fill that, but we are. But yeah, personally, call me delusional, I think the player count's fine. I think it's gonna go back up, even though it is smaller. The player count we get is still pretty huge for a Roblox game. We're still in like the top kind of category 4 games. It's not dead by any means. Just because it's lower doesn't make it dead. I mean, TikTok as well, you're seeing so many new bloxburg creators all the time. So I think the player count is definitely nowhere near as bad as people make it out to be. However, that being said, it's definitely something to be concerned about always. Like, I'm never gonna go off on people for being concerned about it, because obviously when you see something go lower, it's always going to be worrying. But I think we're in the time with Roblox games where it's like, if it's not huge, that means it's bad, instead of it just being fine. Also, if I forgot to mention anything, or I've started talking about something and then I started talking about something else and I haven't answered it, just comment down below and I'll answer it. I'm really bad at talking without like a script, because I didn't script this, so this is just all coming from my brain. Anyways, actually no, you know what, I'm gonna answer your questions now. Where's my phone? And then at the end, I'm gonna talk about updates that I want to see in the game, and then that's kind of it. I'm really scared that I'm gonna edit this and like none of it's gonna make sense. Do you guys want to see a picture of my cats before I answer your questions? They got a new cat tree and it's so cute. Look at them. So this is Hump. Okay, this bottom one's Hump. He's a boy. And then that's Belle. That's a girl. Belle we got first. Belle is my cat. Hump is technically my mum's, however. And don't tell Belle this. Hump is my favorite. I love Hump. He's my baby. I love him so much. But yeah, these are my 2 cats. Anyways, question time. So basically, last night I tweeted out. I basically said, hi guys, I'll be doing a video where I yap about new bloxburg, how I feel about the game's changes this year, what I like and don't like, how I believe last year's incidents affected the way this year's updates were received. Do you have any questions you want to be included? yet. Now, I feel like there's a few things I haven't put in this. If I haven't kind of like specified about the direction the game's going in, I think it's going in a good direction. I think there's improvements to be made. I think maybe they could slightly consider more, you know, oh my gosh, that's such a big one. Hang on. One of the things that I am incredibly passionate about is I think they should post more on their social media. The teasers we get, in my opinion, aren't as good as 2023 when the game was first bought. Don't get me wrong, they're not terrible. Like the ones we got for Fancy Furniture were incredible. That had the same feeling. The map promo was amazing, but I feel like they have got less and less posts on social media unless there's an update coming out. And I also feel like the update teasers aren't as good as they used to be and aren't as kind of lore-filled. Well, not even lore-filled, but just don't really have anything to investigate. And kind of like, one of the things about the Bloxburg community, in my opinion, is they are detectives. They are insane detectives. Before we got teasers, because obviously when Coeptus owned the game, we didn't get teasers at all. We had like one once, and it was Froggy Hops tweeting out a sponge emoji to tease we were getting washing up. That's all we got. Of course, at the time, Coeptus's inventory was also public, so we got like a mesh every 6 months, and that was the extent of the leaks. So it's far better regardless than what it was. But I think the 2023 teasers compared to now, I think 2023 was better. They had more of a storyline, they had things hidden in them to investigate, and I do feel like the social media pages need a little bit of attention more. However, I just want to say as well, our community managers are incredible. They do more than manage the social medias. They put so much work into the game and the community. So please don't take this as we need to replace the community managers. We don't. And I'll be very mad if anyone says it in the comments because I love Bramp and Marie more than anything. Anyways, question time. So the first one, the top one is from Abdul. Are we surprised? No. Abdul says, since the map revamp in the school didn't revive the game, what do you think will bring players back? We talked about this a little bit. The map did revive the game and quite solidly, quite consistently for like a month. It was doing pretty well, and then it took this sudden dive. The school as well didn't get as many players as we hoped, even though it did really well. And I think in terms of bringing players back, I think the image and I guess the trust is still pretty broken from last year. I think this year, even though we got these huge incredible updates, the consistency wasn't there a tiny bit, and I just think it's gonna take more time. I think it's gonna take more consistent improvements and updates, and I just think it's time because last year was truly traumatizing for the game. I truly think time will tell. Like, I think the community, I think social media posts will help. I think kind of like more widespread stuff will help. I feel like most of the community who quit is so unaware of what the game's like now, and I know that because I talk to so many who say the same thing. Hang on, I need more lip gloss. So I think a lot of it as well isn't like directly because the game isn't improving. I think it is people are unaware of like a lot of updates, but I feel like that's kind of a question I don't know the answer to because truly, do you really know what will bring a game's player base back up except good updates? Like, I think role-playing needs a lot more attention, and building too. I think both sides of the game have things that could be added to kind of improve those aspects of the game, and also things players have wanted for years. Do not comment about a hollow gable roof. I'm so sick of hearing it. Yeah, but yeah, I think there is things that can always be done. Like, I don't have a specific answer for this one. I feel like I've yapped too much and I don't want to go over it again. I think updates, and I think time will bring the players back, and I think engaging with the community and kind of sticking to our roots of like, I guess, niches that Bloxburg players thrive on. I don't know. I'm just gonna yap if I get into this one too much. I'm sorry. This sucks, Abdul, as an answer, but I feel like I don't know how to word it to like explain that part. Anyways, next thing he said was, if there was more communication and transparency from the community managers and probably developers, do you think it will revive the community? To some degree, yes. I think it will revive aspects of the community that are important. Like, more posts means more YouTubers reporting on it, like more exciting things and like secrets and communication. People want to talk to the devs, so if they're more active, people are going to be more active replying because they want to talk to them. Communities like Twitter, who thrive on leaks and controversy and talking about stuff, are going to be more active because they have more to talk about, which in itself advertises the game more. A lot of people at this point in time kind of play things because those things are relevant, if that makes sense. So if they see something being posted about so much, they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is popular, I'm gonna get back on it. So I think yes. Obviously, I've just talked about the like social media, so I think yes. Last thing he says is, do you think the developers will ever come out with an update bigger than the map revamp? I don't think they can, because of what, like I said at the start of the video, the map is the game. So I don't know what they could change that could be bigger than it, if that makes sense. Next question is from Adore, and he says, do you think the community will ever stop being toxic towards the game? No, because they have been since the start. Like, it's inevitable, really. I don't think there's a single game ever that doesn't have a toxic side of the fandom. That's not something you can change no matter what they do, to be honest. Average Roblox player says, do you think Bloxburg can make a comeback, and do you think it's forever reached its peak? And this is one where it's kind of just obviously my opinion and it's not something I can predict. So I don't think it's reached its peak personally, because I think this is just the first year of them doing so many more, I guess, improvements and changing stuff. And yes, that upsets people, but also from what I see, they're definitely setting up the game for, I mean, just look at the town. There's so many empty buildings because they're being set up for future updates. Everything goes the way I have it in my head. I think we could reach another peak. I think we could do an Adopt Me and kind of go back up again, which is what everyone's hoping. And that's kind of how I feel like it's going to play out. I think we're going to reach a kind of another peak era similar to 2020. Obviously, I can't say if we're actually going to, because no one can, but that's what I'd ideally like to happen. And I think it could make a comeback, because I don't think there's like a huge comeback thing. It's not like we have like 5 players. Like, the community is still huge. You never know what's going to happen with anything. So please ignore my broken pop socket, by the way. I'm releasing merch soon and they're pop sockets and I haven't got a replacement yet. Anyways, he also says, do you think bloxburg will be completely dead with less than 1,000 players in the next 5 years? No, like, I genuinely don't believe that at all, unless Roblox keeps doing terrible updates and then every game will be dead. This is a good one. So M says, does bloxburg performing badly affect you, as in morale, amount of views? I also know there is some hate and just overall how it makes you feel from a content creator perspective that the game you rely on isn't doing as well as expected. Now, views wise, if we're gonna talk business, it does concern me, but because views are definitely lower, not by like a huge insane degree, like I'm fine. I think being a YouTuber, it's like everything's uncertain, and it has been from the start. Like, you could post a video that does so insanely well and then you could post one that doesn't, and it's like you can't do anything. So being in such like an inconsistent industry, I think it's like it's expected, so it's not like a huge impact. In terms of the game performing badly, I'm gonna go back to like the stuff that happened last year and stuff and just basically focus on people's bad opinions of it. It does affect us, because do you know how many people I get who think I'm a dev or like get me involved in everything and hate on me as well? It will always affect me, because people will always group us with it, because obviously we're in the program and everything, so it's like rightfully so, kind of. Yeah, I feel like what I'm struggling with the most is people twisting my words. Surprisingly, even though I talk all the time, I struggle with getting my words out in a way that reflects what I have in my head. I struggle with communicating. I feel like I say things in such a bad way sometimes and it's not explaining it properly, and I really struggle with it. And one of the things I'm really struggling with is how much people nitpick what I say, because they think I'm like teasing to something or leaking something or whatever it may be. I feel like I'm under a lot of pressure to make sure I say everything properly, which I haven't in this video. Let's be real. I don't know what this is going to come out like, but I think that aspect and the aspect of people thinking I glaze the game or that I'm paid to only say good things about it, they genuinely think we're being held hostage and that we can't say anything bad. We can say what we want. Like, we can say what we want about the game, and the devs want it that way because they want us to be honest, but people think they don't. And I feel like it's a huge struggle right now with people thinking like, she never critiques the game, Glossie just glazes, Glossie isn't honest. Guys, I am. I just really like bloxburg. Please be real. I love this game. I believe in them so much, and I believe in the game so much, and I believe in what they're doing. Yes, there's some things that I wouldn't personally do, but then again, you also have to kind of figure out, like, is it just my opinion of me not liking how this looks, or is it genuinely bad? I'm losing my voice from talking so much. So yeah, it does affect me. The views and stuff, I'm gonna be honest, I've said from the start, I don't do this for money. Obviously, I'm at the stage where it's my job, so I kind of have to, like, I have to prioritize being sensible and maybe expanding content and stuff. But bloxburg is something I'm never going to quit. Bloxburg, this was always far more than the money for me. I started this as a way to make friends, and then I started to realize that it was more beneficial for you guys to make friends in my community and feel like you have like a safe space. So my main concern is the community, but I also know I have to be sensible, which is why I'm starting a Dress to Impress / Roblox channel, a Minecraft channel, and a vlog channel, which I already have, but I'm posting on that more. So surprise, I'm doing more. Anyways, but it's a difficult one. I feel like there's different aspects that affect me, and I also get really upset when I feel like people aren't happy, because I really want everyone to see the game the way I see it and be happy. So I spend so much time replying to comments and stuff and trying to explain things to people because I want them to be happy with it and I want them to understand. And with how much misinformation, especially about bloxburg, is posted, I want people to be fully aware and I want people to not be sad. Does that sound stupid? I don't know. Anyways, next questions. Another one, do you think bloxburg can make a comeback? I think yes. Do you think it will ever be the same as it was before Coffee Stain bought the game? No, because it was a different era of Roblox. It was only 2 developers, and If you mean kind of like vibe-wise, I think yes, but it's a difficult one. I also feel like people's attention spans are so gone, so it's like if a game doesn't update every week, they think the update was like months ago. Another one that says, is the game really dead? Obviously it pulls in way less players than what it's used to. However, is it really dead? I mean, it consistently still pulls in 20,000 plus daily, which leaves it with a likely loyal fan base. And evident by Royal High, it can do so much lower. Does the bloxburg team now try to bring in more players or appeal to the ones who have stayed through thick and thin? It's not dead. I've already said that. Like, yes, it's lower. We still have so many players daily, and talking about what type of person they're trying to appeal to, I think it's everyone. Like, I see them do stuff where it's evident they've put in little things as like for older players. Obviously right now I feel like any game has to be so, I guess, more focused on new players, because especially like with bloxburg, for example, so many of the old players are old because of their age. Like, so many people grow out of Roblox, which is evidently something I'm never gonna do. But I don't think they're focusing on like one aspect, if that makes sense. I think it would be unhealthy for them to have one type of like a new player or old player in mind. I think it's just players in general. I feel like this video is just gone. Like, I've been doing this for like over an hour. I don't want to know what this is going to turn out like. What is my bloxburg New Year's resolution and my predictions going forward? I feel like this is a good one to transition into what I want next year for the game. My bloxburg resolution is to do more videos, because I have a lot planned for next year. But in terms of the next updates and things I want to see, I'm actually going to be doing a video, I'm hoping in a couple, like in a week or so, where I basically go over the entirety of 2026 and what I want to see happen in each month. Majorly though, I want to see more revamps. I want to see a BFF supermarket revamp and Ben's ice cream. I want to see a part 2 to the school. I want to see a school bus and maybe some more classes and things consistently in that to make it more engaging. I want a banger of a Valentine's update. I want them to add a Cadillac car. I think I want a build mode update where they add some requested features from builders. I want a huge roleplay update where they add requested features from role players, like maybe like a baby and toddler update part 2. I want to see both of those aspects of the game get their attention. I'm debating talking about tickets, but I think there's too much in this video to go into that one. I just want to see more consistent updates each month. I want to see ones with things like Bloxy burgers. I want to see cool teasers. I want to see secrets. I want to see lore. I want to see things for the community to work on together on figuring out. I want live little events. I want them to blow up more buildings. I just want bloxburg updates. Like, I love so many of the things this game does, and I'm not going to go on a tangent on specific updates because, like I said, I'm going to do a video about that soon. That's if this one does well, because if everyone hates this one, then I'm not doing it. I don't know what to say. I just want bloxburg. Like, I'm just excited. I think there's so much potential with growing on the new map, and that's kind of it. Like, I feel like I've talked too much, and I'm really scared I haven't got over the key points. Basically, overall, I love bloxburg. I love the game. I love the map. I love the school. I don't like some of the UI. I think they could do more social media teasers. I think they could go back to the sneaky leaks and stuff. I think there's obviously room to improve. I think the player count to some degree is worrying, but also not really, because we still have a huge player count and we get millions of players a month. I think people need to chill out more. I think people need to be more understanding about certain things. I think people need to stop being so intense and just play the game that they love. I think people focus on what's coming instead of what we have. bloxburg is such a detailed game, and I think there's just so many different things where it's hard to kind of express what I mean, if you get what I mean. But I'm gonna end this here, and I'm gonna go edit this and see if this is really, really bad, because I've yapped too much. I'm not good at just sitting and talking without getting distracted. But if there's anything, like absolutely any questions you have, if I've said something and like it doesn't make sense, if I've completely missed stuff, if you want my specific opinions on stuff, let me know in the comments. I will sit and reply to all of them. And I'm posting this tonight because I don't have a Glossmas video scheduled, because it takes a while for me to record stuff and I now don't have any pre-recorded. So also, this is my hoodie and I love it. It's from Name Collective. Name Collective, please sponsor me. I love you so much. I have all your clothes. That's pretty much it for today's video. I love you guys so much. I love my community. I love the bloxburg community. I love you all, okay? Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. As per usual, all my channel members will be on screen now. Thank you so much for joining the channel. And all my Nightshade boosters, thank you so much for boosting my Discord server. And my merch buyers from February, thank you so much for buying the merch. I'm actually really enjoying doing a video with my face in it. Like, I'm just chilling. So I think we're gonna get more of these, but I love you all a lot. I hope you have a wonderful Glossmas. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow, well, tonight for the Alpha. But that's it. I love you all so much, glossettes. XOXO, Glossie Girl.